Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined this fine Tuesday by Lawrence Jackson and Kyle Dvorchak, where we will break down Monday Night Football, whether you want us to or not, and then talk about Week 17's toughest rankings. Let's talk about, hope everyone's having a happy holidays. And Lawrence covered Monday Night Football for the site, which he does not usually do. And we were regaling each other with tales before the show of what a wonderful game it was. And you may have seen this tweet, but I tweeted last night, like, man, I'm really glad my wife doesn't realize how horrible some of these games I sit and watch are, because like there was just no excuse for me to be watching this game. And then I did, and my wife is a saint. And thankfully, though, doesn't know the difference between a good Josh Allen game and a horrific Nick Foles game. And I feel like I owe an apology to so many people for watching that game. Lawrence, sounds like you didn't really – sounds like maybe you were literally begging for the game to end.
Oh, yeah, 100%. First off, congratulations to Nick Foles for, pretty much sending the Chargers to the playoffs for the first time since 2018. Kudos there. Yeah, man, this game, it kind of – this is one of them games where, I'd have went to sleep at halftime, woke up.
You're preaching to the choir.
Right. Like, this is what I do usually during these types of most primetime games, but especially this type. Like, go to sleep first half, wake up middle of the night, finish the rest, fast read where I could fast forward it, and just do it like that. But, I got the pleasure of covering this game, and for some reason, it just wanted to go on forever, where, Zach Moss was definitely the best player for the Colts last night, so, but hey, it's over now. Congrats to the Chargers. Playoff bound, baby. I don't know. I know the coach said they planned for Nick Foles to start for the rest of the season. And I was like, you know what, man? The team hasn't moved far with Matt Ryan. Give Nick Foles a shot. He's Super Bowl MVP. He need to go on somewhere now. What is that? What was he doing in that game?
I do not know.
Who's the worst quarterback this team has? I guess who's the best?
It's Matt Ryan.
I don't know.
It might still be Ellinger, actually.
I kind of think it might be Ellinger.
It's because he can kind of run around a little bit.
I'm not saying Ellinger, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a rookie.
Yeah,
he don't know no better.
He's actually is he a rookie? I think he's a rookie.
These other two dudes, they know better. Both of them played in the Super Bowl. Both of them plays Nick Foles. They say, okay, let's throw the ball downfield. That don't mean just throw it to the other players. That don't mean that.
Well, Nick Foles knows better. He knows that he's just going to the farm this winter and never coming back. He's done with this NFL stuff, rightfully so. And yeah, I mean, I'll read my prepared spiel where we kind of covered it. I mean, Nick Foles, latest Colts quarterback to generate zero offense whatsoever. Honestly, maybe the worst performance I've seen by any quarterback in the NFL all season. He basically looked like a porcelain vase, like under center, and even the Chargers, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. There were multiple sacks where it seemed like the Chargers were trying not to injure him, kind of letting him down easy. There was at least 2 sacks where they were hitting him and you could see them easing up. Oh man, I really don't want to hurt this guy. He's kind of a legend. Don't want to break Nick Foles in half, but I mean, I got to sack him. And
there was plenty of those.
There were seriously plenty of, man, I know. I tweeted this last night too. He reminded me, I don't know if Lawrence will probably remember this. I don't know if Kyle remember this. Mark Brunell on the Jets was the last time I had this sensation of a quarterback. This guy's too old to be on the field. This is dangerous. This guy might die.
The last time I got this sensation was when I watched Nicolas Cage take the Declaration of Independence, because he's essentially committing a crime, smashing and grabbing, but it is a prized document, which you should be so delicate and careful with. And Nick Foles is a national treasure, to borrow the phrase. But he is now should be put in the museum. He should no longer be in active duty.
And he's got it made for life because he's a classic guy. It's the classic cliche. He'll never have to pay for a beer in Philadelphia. as long as he lives.
And because he beat the Patriots, he can probably get free beers in a lot of cities because it's like a good
That's true.
to beat for
Yeah,
free
like
beer.
you can never take what he's done away from him. No way,
No.
no how. And to be honest, he ain't even really that old. He might be a couple years younger. He is a couple years younger than Matt Ryan,
Definitely.
but it's the way that everything looked last night that made him look like he was older than Tom Brady. You know?
Lawrence, I thought you might say he's younger than us because he is. He's younger.
He,
than us.
yeah,
Well,
he's
let's not
younger than us.
us. Let's not us this
I
one.
know, not all of us.
Yeah, but look, I would have escaped some of them sacks. Even with that line, who don't be blocking for nobody, they don't block for no quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, I think after seeing you in Canton, Ohio, I'm pretty sure you would have spun out of at least one.
I wouldn't have got sacked 7 times.
No.
I would have got sacked 6.5.
Yeah, I'd say 4 to 5. You would have gotten sacked 4 to 5 times. So as we set the stage for Nick Foles is bad, and he's apparently going to start the final 2 games. Michael Pittman's been held below 40 yards in 2 of his past 3 games. The one exception was when they had to kind of go into desperation mode after they blew their lead against the Vikings. Paris Campbell's under 20 yards in 3 of his past 4 games. 2 games left. The fantasy finals this week. The Colts have the Giants. Can we trust anyone in this Colts passing? Can we even call Michael Pittman a wide receiver 3 at this point?
Maybe. Probably.
He's a mediocre flex.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of these the problematic guys that they're like good players. They see a reasonable share of their offense, but on any given week, the Panthers offense, the Saints offense, the Broncos offense, some of these teams, it almost doesn't matter if you see 100% of the team's targets. They put up 3 points a night ago or whatever. It doesn't matter how much you see of that. And he might be in the worst spot of most of them, other than like the Broncos guys, right? Because like Panthers offense is somehow putting up points now.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like we are putting our best minds to it, and they are coming up with.
No one actually watched that game on Christmas Eve, of course. But,
we didn't have it blurbed. In fact, no one watched it. It was
that's not
played.
True. It's written up on the site.
I just thought it was Jonathan. I thought it was Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. That's what I thought it was.
They had 364 yards in the first half. We are digressing, but the Panthers had a franchise record 364 yards in the first half against the Lions.
Yeah, sorry to sideline us, but like you think about the desperate situations, and those ones, I'm throwing out the Broncos, seem to have some sort of phases of hope that they go through. DJ Moore scores touchdowns every now and then all of a sudden, right? Like Chris Olave, as few and as far between as it is, I'm kind of throw out last week's it was a weather game. Every once in a while comes up with...
He also didn't play.
When he plays though, comes up with, I'm saying like their offense, but every once in a while he'll come up with maybe, I don't know how long till we see him, but every once in a while comes up with the long catch. What can Michael Pittman do to break out in an individual game? I just don't see it. So he's like 0 floor, almost no ceiling. What are we doing here?
Do you guys know how many touchdowns Michael Pittman has this year?
Am I going to be too high if I say 2?
I could see 2 on the tip of your tongue, and it is 2. He has 2.
Oh, let's go.
One of which came in week 1 against the Texans, where he had 121 yards and 9 catches. Boy, did we think it was going to be a different kind of season.
We did.
Michael Pittman in week 1.
How young and naive we were.
And he's averaging under 10 yards per catch, which is really, really bad number for a player who plays the kind of receiver he does.
So do you not have him ranked as a wide receiver 3 this week? I don't blame you.
I have him quite literally right on the borderline. I have him as a wide receiver 35. So by the letter of the law, I do have him as a wide receiver 3. I mean, are we playing Michael Pittman against the Giants, or are we playing Brandon Cooks against the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I'd rather just go Cooks, man. At least we've like that. After seeing what I just saw, I'm scared to death to start anything coming from the Colts. Even though Davis Mills ain't really all that much better, we've seen Brandon Cooks at least be successful from a fantasy standpoint with Davis Mills. So, I would lean that, but it's not something to, either or. It's
not betting your mortgage on it, but
yeah.
Michael Pittman against the Giants, or Jahan Dotson against the Browns with Carson Wentz likely to be under center for the Commanders.
Oh, that one's a little
Jahan.
easier. That one's much easier for me there.
I know. I had Jahan one spot behind him, and I was like, gonna have to change that because if I'm setting lineups this weekend, there is no way in hell I would play Michael Pittman over, which is honestly a good way to tie break rankings sometimes. There's just no way in hell I would actually start Michael Pittman over Jahan Dotson. Let's see if there's any. Final one, Adam Thielen against the Green Bay Packers, or Michael Pittman against the New York Giants.
I might go back to Pittman on this one, but I think that's just the zoomer in me. I can't fathom playing Adam Thielen. I mean, I really can't fathom playing Michael Pittman.
That Thielen is tough here. He came back down to earth against the whoever they
the football game.
They played the Giants. He had one catch for 6 yards.
And therein lies the evidence right there of why we have to go Michael Pittman.
Your Honor, I present to you Week 16.
Apparently, this is not a joke. Adam Thielen has only surpassed 70 yards one time all season, and it was 72.
I know. I almost know that for a fact. Like, I could have told you that because I think I wrote up 4 weeks ago or something that hasn't passed 80 yards since week 2. But it doesn't score a ton of touchdowns either. It's not like, we kind of make fun of him as a tight end, but he doesn't go out and be this dominant red zone weapon either.
Not anymore.
Give me the.
That used to be his calling card, was getting the touchdowns, because last season he didn't have 1,000 receiving yards, but he scored 14 touchdowns.
Was that last year or 2 years ago? No, yeah, it was last year. He had 10 touchdowns last year, 14 in 2020.
14 in 2020.
Do that more.
Yeah.
He actually he has not had 1,000 yards. When was the last time you think Adam Thielen had 1,000 yards?
Probably. I would guess 2 years ago.
Nope.
Wow.
I would have said 2019.
2018.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so there you go. So
I've been getting away with this for a long time.
He really has.
Yeah, real long time. I don't know why. I mean, we should not belabor this conversation. Cortland Sutton against the Kansas City Chiefs, or Michael Pittman against the New York Giants.
Pittman.
Yeah, I think so too. The Broncos are going to run 55 times this weekend.
Every single week, we're not doing this again, but I'm slightly doing it again. Every single week, you think the Broncos can't get worse. And they don't take one step down. They dig so much deeper than you thought they ever could. Oh my God. It's
if you want to hear
unimaginable.
If you want to hear good Broncos talk, Denny Carter, Patrick Crane, and myself had a good discussion on Monday's podcast. So check that out if you have not heard it. I guess we better move on from Michael Pittman because we're not high on him, is I think the takeaway. On the other side of the ball Monday night, Justin Herbert, he's been looking a lot better in real life over the past month. He's at least averaging over 7 yards per attempt again every week. He's hitting a few deep balls, looking physically really good after his rib issues, but he has only 2 touchdowns and 4 December starts. Really not sure how in the world that's possible. It's coincided with Mike Williams' return too. I mean, we're not getting crazy for the fantasy finals and taking Justin Herbert out of the top 12 at quarterback, right? It's just kind of one of those really unfortunate situations where if you happen to survive them at under center, you just have to keep him in there and wait for the regression to hit. Do you not, Kyle? Kyle, I see you looking quizzical, so tell me.
They're his ADOT still in a single game has not gone 2-9 this year. I believe it's over 8 once. It is back-to-back 7-point somethings. They're clearly moving the ball a little bit more downfield, but that's not a high bar to clear for what they were doing earlier in the year. We're still not seeing Mike Williams be used to his fullest potential. It's still a somehow Keenan Allen-centric offense where you think there could be a really strong balance situation in which Mike Williams is drawing plenty of targets, high leverage targets downfield, and we're just not getting that. And because he could be doing that, that would leave Keenan Allen more open across the center of the field and even make Austin Eckler more efficient as well. But instead, they're just playing it's getting a little better, but is it at the point we want to see it where they're moving the ball consistently past the sticks? They're not. I know they're capable of more. I don't think this is a quite as broke of an offense as we saw a month ago, but they're capable of so much more. And do we see that much from them this week? I mean, maybe the Rams are a better team than I gave them credit for with Baker Mayfield under center.
50 burgers.
I know.
Don't look up what team they did it against.
They'll certainly provide more resistance than the coach just did.
Yes.
Will they? I don't know, man. They should. Everything about this team says they should be horrific. But then they play the Broncos, and you see that there's levels to this stuff. They're a bad team. The Broncos, and maybe that's all you need to be, is a bad team to put up some points, right? And the Chargers defense is not elite by any metric. So if this game ends up being decent, yeah, I think Herbert's probably still a QB1. But if you tell me they play, like, if you tell me it's 23, it was the exact score line of the Colts game, at that point, Herbert will not finish the game as a QB1. It just almost cannot happen. No, and I think that's a very reasonable outcome. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Broncos repeating or even coming close. I think they are more true to the team they were 2 weeks ago. Or the Broncos, the Rams.
The Rams. Yeah. But with the Rams, by the way, before we get to Lawrence on Herbert, just the Rams are a bad team, but you see the difference. There's a difference between bad teams who have a good coach and bad teams who have a bad coach, because bad teams who have a good coach will just like spring these random outcomes on people like, wow, I know not the Rams year, but scored 50 points. That's because they have a good coach. And that's within their range of outcomes, not within the Denver Broncos range of outcomes. Lawrence, what are your Justin Herbert thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, it's not what everybody wants. On the year, quarterback 15 on a points per game basis. Last 3 games, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, right? But they're winning. This is the thing. Now they're in the playoffs. It's just gotten to the point where, people had to decide what they want. And if you have them on your fantasy team, we know what you want. But
you want your season to not be over because it's already over.
Right. So the
really
first couple
lock down
years,
6th place. There's a big fifth, 6th place match coming up.
It's a big game. It's a big game.
The first 2 years, Justin Herbert's throwing all the yards, the touchdowns, and the Chargers are losing games at the end and at the end of the season to keep them from being in the playoffs. But now the Chargers, he's not having to throw the ball deep every play, which is what most football fans want him to do. I get that. I understand that. He got a cannon. But if you look at how they played last night, yeah, he threw the 1 pick. But you look at how they played last night. He's hitting Keenan Allen open every time because that's a receiver who knows how to get open probably better than any receiver in the league. That's what's working for them. The Chargers defense has been playing better over the past couple of weeks.
Joey Bosa is going to resume practicing too.
He will come back as well, right? So, I mean, from a football perspective, I'm sure Justin Herbert is pretty damn happy right now. We just not getting the wild stats that he's like. If you said coming into the season like Justin Herbert will be 21 TDs, 10 picks at the end of the season right now, people probably like, nah, you lowballing him. Well, I actually, from a football standpoint, I'm more impressed with him now than the previous 2 years. It's hard to see, but they're in the playoffs now. From a fantasy perspective, like y'all say, you can't just knock him out of the top 12 quarterback, especially with the Rams on tap here coming up and whatever injuries they have. But you just have to, I don't know, I guess temper the expectations a little bit.
I tried to make that distinction on Twitter when I had a tweet about him Tuesday morning where he is playing better in real life. He got derailed by the rib thing. He's still kind of getting derailed by his protection, by the way. He's taken at least 3 sacks and 6 straight starts. That's like pretty hard to do, actually. That's a lot of hits. And
yeah, I don't know. Maybe throw a jump ball to the 6'5" giant you have on your team every once in a while instead of taking a sack. Who knows?
Or to just relieve pressure, to scare the defense and not let them camp out on the box.
I'm not upset. Why are you asking?
Justin Herbert or Jared Goff against the Chicago Bears?
Goff.
I'm going to go Goff.
Bears matchup is a windmill.
Oh, my Lord. Justin Herbert or if Jalen Hurts does not play, Gardner Minshew against the New Orleans Saints.
I think Minshew.
Oh, no.
That one's close. I don't know.
But you see, though, like, just saying that's close is crazy.
Justin Herbert against the Rams or Aaron Rodgers against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings allowing the most passing yards in football.
I was going to say Rodgers easily, and I've been so underwhelmed by that offense, but I guess, have you seen an update on Christian Watson? I was driving for the entirety of the past 46 hours. They don't have Watson.
I don't think there's been an update on Christian Watson.
Not surprising, yeah.
He was day to day on Monday.
Okay, so if he plays, then definitely Rodgers. Like, that looks like a really, shootout potential, like especially for the Packers, where they lose this and it's almost over. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated, but they're, realistically eliminated.
It would be pretty. They might be.
I think I was messing around with the 538 model and it gave them like a 2% chance, which is to say like they'd need a million things to go right and then they'd still be a coin flip or whatever. I think they could unleash it a little bit, mostly because the Vikings have been a team that they both push and get pushed on, right? It's the both directions of possible shootout. I like Rodgers this week. Yeah.
Let's just be real. The Packers are going to win this game too. No one wants this.
100%.
They're going to win this game. No one wanted them to beat the Dolphins either, and they did. But boy, Christian Watson, get well soon, buddy.
Yeah,
we need you bad. The NFL.
I actually liked Aaron Rodgers against the Dolphins. He didn't end up having a great game, but he didn't have to because, my boy Tua, he ain't really had to have a great game. They ended up winning that game, but
he did not have a great game, Lawrence.
Yeah, and that second half. Ooh.
But producer Adam points out the Packers are indeed 3.5-point home favorites. You may be a bit flying too close to the sun as a 12-3 team if you are a road dog to a 7-8 team. You may have been getting a little luck on your side. So that's going to be a really interesting game this week. We'll move on to running back now. We're having trouble ranking everybody. Lawrence Jackson, who are you having trouble ranking at running back for Week 17, the fantasy finals?
Well, the Lions running backs, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. For it now, this is why it's hard to rank because you got them at home. You have a good matchup against the Bears, who are the fourth worst against running backs in fantasy. However, these Lions running backs have been tricky. And to be honest, Jamal Williams hasn't been tricky at all these past 3 or 4 weeks.
Sadly, he's looking totally cooked.
Yeah, all he been doing is been rushing for 36 yards every game and scoring no touchdowns. And when Jamal Williams don't score no touchdowns, you might as well go to sleep if you got him in your roster because you're getting nothing right there.
No.
Now, on DeAndre Swift's side, his touches keep on, it's like a seesaw every week. We saw him go 3 weeks ago, 18 touches for over 100 total yards. Then he went back down to 9 touches for 39 total yards. Then he went back up to 14 touches for 61 yards. So it's like, what are we going to get now? I would be more prone to go with DeAndre Swift in this matchup. But being as how, like I mentioned, the matchup, the Lions will be able to get in there near that goal line, and that's going to be Jamal Williams all day. So when you get those 16 carries for 29 yards and that touchdown, that's decent points for him right there.
Yeah, I mean, you just described like a game environment that should favor both backs because they're going to be drives to finish near the goal line for the Lions, and it's going to be like a track meet. The total's over 50. It's going to be a back and forth game. That should help spark DeAndre Swift in theory. Just Lawrence, to put a few stats on what you were describing, Jamal Williams has 36 carries for 81 scoreless yards over his past 3 games.
What?
He hasn't hit 4 yards per carry in 8 straight games. Just a guy with no juice.
I was looking at them numbers by game, but I was just too embarrassed to add them up like you just did. I ain't want to even do bruh like that. I ain't want to add them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 36 for scoreless, 81. But then DeAndre Swift has 0 touchdowns and 27 touches over the past 3 weeks. But the way you just described it in my head, like, yeah, it's going to be like kind of a tough pill to swallow, but we probably need to get Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift a little higher than maybe we would like to, just because of the game environment. Correct, Kyle Dvorchak?
I mean, like, I don't think you have to rank DeAndre Swift that highly. I mean, has one game with
what is the meaning of have?
Would I like to? Sure. I love DeAndre Swift, but has one game with over 8 carries in the past. I'm not going to count it. It looks like about 13 games since week 1. He had the 15 carry game in week 1. Then he had the complete false flag operation of comes off the injury report entirely, never starts on the injury report, gets 14 carries plus some receptions. And then that has kind of dissipated since. And his snaps have been sort of rebounding following the letdown after that game, up to 40%, then up to 56% last week. But he only ran a route on 52% of the team's dropbacks. They're still getting Justin Jackson some of the team's routes. And then they're now also going to give Jamal Williams, obviously, at least the first crack seemingly at the goal line works. Like, here's my prediction. My prediction is I say you shouldn't play him. He's seeing far less than half of the team's carries. He's seeing roughly half of the team's routes. He's super efficient, but there's just so little meat on the bone with that volume. And then he breaks along when he turns 11 touches into 130 yards and a touchdown. And you guys say he was a great play, and I come back and I'm disappointed because the process.
Always the process. I'm only going to do 2 of these, but so some weird ones. DeAndre Swift against the Chicago Bears or Chuba Hubbard on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So ceiling versus floor, basically.
I think I'm going to go Chuba.
Ooh, dear. Ooh. I have Chuba ranked one spot ahead of him.
There you go.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3 on Chuba. I might honestly change it. Lawrence had me kind of feeling a little better about DeAndre Swift.
I'm going Swift.
Okay, thank God.
I'm going Swift.
Thank God. DeAndre Swift.
I wasn't that convinced, but I'm still,
DeAndre Swift against the Bears or Raheem Mostert on the road against the New England Patriots.
That'll be Swift for me too.
Mostert.
Ooh, dear. Man.
I'm not playing the Swift guy. Stop playing the Swift guy.
All right. Kyle, who are you having trouble ranking? One of them is in the DeAndre Swift zone. I'm just going to do the reveal. James Cook. You're having problems with James Cook and Devin Singletary.
Yeah, both of them. And per usual, there's just, I mean, this is actually kind of a Lions-esque backfield where, like, there are reasons for us to want to target this backfield, namely that they're the Bills. The Bills put up a ton of points, and having Josh Allen, who can both run the ball. I mean, he's like the 3rd best rushing quarterback in the NFL. I don't know, 4th, whatever. He's going to end up as, I think, the QB3 in rushing yards and has a cannon of an arm. He is maybe the best throwing quarterback as well, at least the 2nd best. Makes it so easy for the running backs to have such efficient games, as we saw last week, where James Cook had 11 carries for 99 yards and a score, and Devin Singletary also blew up. James Cook last week tied his season high in snap share at 41%, his 2nd highest mark in carries. And interestingly, since week 10, which is about where we started seeing the Josh Allen elbow issues crop up, is that the Bills have a positive pass rate over expected of 1%. They're just a perfectly neutral, balanced team, essentially. And I mean, last week, there are some reasons for that. The weather was probably the 2nd worst weather game of the week, just eyeballing it just based on the vibes.
A lot of competition.
I know, a lot of competition. So if I'm forgetting your favorite, the Browns one has to be the worst. As someone who is in Northeast Ohio, my God, why would anyone live there? It's insane. But Chicago, the weather not too far off. That one maybe you can spell it away a little bit as to why they would just run the football against a team that doesn't defend the run particularly well. But before that, they were still trending towards this balanced team. So if both of the backs are going to get a little bit of a bigger pie to work from, and James Cook, who has been on the year the more efficient running back, is going to get maybe half the carries, something close to half the running back carries at least. I'm not putting him in the RB2 range, but this might be the closest I rank him to that all year.
You said Cook or Singletary?
Cook.
Wow, man. It's a really, really interesting game environment. I mean, the total's not at 50 yet, but I have a hard time believing this total won't go over 50. I mean, it is in Cincinnati, Ohio, in early January. The weather could be rough. It's not forecasted to be rough right now, I don't think, but it seems like it's going to be like an AFC Championship game style preview game with a ton of points scored. And yeah, I've got both in the top 36 easily this week. And do you have Devin? Sorry, you said this in your spiel. Do you have Singletary ranked ahead of Cook still, Kyle? Or
I don't have my rankings done yet.
In your head,
I'm gonna go Singletary ahead of Cook. I think I might have Singletary as like 24 and Cook is like 28 or something.
I'm kind of in that tip. Lawrence, what do you have? Singletary or James Cook ranked higher?
I'm gonna have Singletary ranked higher. He'll get more carries, but again, like Kyle said, James Cook been more efficient throughout the year. I'm going to hope it's James Cook because I need him in one of my championships. So I'm going to be fair on paper and put Devin Singletary ahead of James Cook. But in my mind, James Cook is RB3 this week.
You can tell how warped my brain is because at the end of my all like positive James Cook spiel, Pat's like, so you have him ranked the RB1 on this team? And I was like, no, of course not. No, I don't have him ranked the RB1 on this team. But I like him. I think he's fun. I could use some points from him too. But no, he's the RB2 on his team. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys both have James Cook ahead of DeAndre Swift.
Oh my God, yes. Don't even play with that. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna take definitely gonna take James Cook.
He has been seeing much more consistent.
Because one of y'all just said it's a similar backfield. Well, this is on the better team and the better offense. That
the Lions' backfield in a better situation. It really is. I don't know what to do with Zonovan Bam Knight at the Seahawks, who has 21 yards on 19 carries over the past 2 weeks. But that was with Zach Wilson just making the offense non-functional. Mike White has been announced as the starter for this weekend against the Seahawks. Thank goodness. After Bam really, really let people down the first 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs, can we still say he's like a top 30 back, like a flex relevant back, kind of like right off the past 2 weeks? Because I mean, there was really no way to get yards with whatever Zach Wilson was doing. You can't call it quarterbacking.
Yeah, right off might be a little strong, right? Because last week the offense was terrible, but most
6 carries for -2 yards, Kyle.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't think that's. I mean, I haven't run the yards per carry. I have a spreadsheet set up to do that, but just kind of the loose eyeball test says that's not good. But the thing I was going to point out was that he just doesn't. He's never going to catch a pass at this point. I know the team does not like Michael Carter between the tackles, but they have still clearly been favoring him over Zonovan Knight, who has 3 catches over his past 3 appearances. They have still been not only favoring Michael Carter, they just don't use Zonovan Knight as a pass catcher out of the backfield, which makes him just so susceptible to these downfalls from this offense that I still think not as prevalent under Mike White are possible. It's not like Mike White is this consistent force that they're never going to have a bad game. And the thing we love about Mike White is that he throws a lot of high completion passes. If you're not catching passes, if you're not on the field for routes, it's not going to help you as much. Do I expect his yards per carry and his touchdown opportunities to be a lot better than they have with Zach Wilson? Of course. But yeah, would you say, do I think he's top 30?
Yeah, top 30.
This might be, I need a game test for this one.
I haven't ranked as the RB30 right now.
I don't know if he's top 30 because Michael Carter done closed that gap.
Yeah.
I don't even see how you don't be like, I the first couple of games, Zonovan Knight was good as far as running the ball. He was pretty damn good running the ball for 3 games straight.
I'm moving him down as you're talking, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, against the Jaguars, it looked like Michael Carter was like the only thing that was going for them on offense, boy, besides Streveler looking like Tim Tebow running the ball. That's the only thing they had going.
Diet caffeine-free Tim Tebow.
I think for the Jets offense to be better, it would involve both running backs being involved. So that may be, they may be leaning into that more. But like Kyle said, you might need a game test.
Zon Knight at the Seattle Seahawks or Zach Moss at the New York Giants?
Moss.
Because after seeing what he did last night, like he's clearly the guy to finish the season there.
He is. Yep. Zonovan Knight at the Seahawks, A.J. Dillon against the Minnesota Vikings.
I think A.J. Dillon.
Definitely Dillon.
Man, I moved Zonovan Knight down from RB30 to 33 for now. It's a really interesting part of the board.
I thought you was going to say 30 to 53.
Yeah, you didn't really make that much.
Not that persuasive. Not that, but yeah, you were being quite persuasive. So he's been moved down. We'll be moving on to wide receivers right after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen during bowl season and in the Premier League. There's also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Steelers and Ravens in our Sunday Night 7 contest. Kyle Dvorchak, who are you having trouble ranking at wide receiver for Week 17?
Mike Evans, because the Bucs are terrible, and the only things surviving them right now are the PPR scan players, which is like Chris Godwin, and apparently Leonard Fournette's just the guy again. How fun. God, I love this team. I love football, and I love covering this as my job. Evans hasn't topped 100 yards since week 8. He hasn't scored since week 4. And since week 8, he has an 18% target share, which is like the team's clear second receiver type of stuff. And he has fewer red zone targets than Chris Godwin, which like that's almost the entire saving grace of a typical Evans game is that, okay, sure, you go out and you get a 5-target game while Godwin, who gets open at will, gets peppered with targets. One, Godwin's not getting open at will, to be clear, but typically that is the saving grace, is that no matter what Godwin is doing, they get to the end zone a bunch of times, they get to the red zone a bunch of times, and they just use the Mike Evans cheat code. They're not even doing that anymore. The offense, I cannot believe how close they came to losing to the Cardinals. Unreal.
It's wild, man.
Like, this team is so sad, and they're gonna probably make the playoffs. So
I don't know, man. What's the early line on Panthers Bucks? I guess the Bucks are favored. Let me look it up. The Bucks.
It might depend who's at home, because like if that's a home game for the Panthers. No, you said it's on the road.
We're gonna get Sam Darnold in the playoffs,
dude,
baby.
I am so excited.
The Bucks are 3-point home. No, the Bucks are at home. The Bucks are 3-point home.
Yeah. You said that earlier. I forgot about it. Yeah, man. This just looks like. I mean, the Panthers have a very incredibly obvious, it has worked, but it's obvious game plan of let's play. I mean, typically they should be low scoring. If you put up 30 some odd points, it turns out to be high scoring, but they want to play slow pace, run heavy, rely on the defense. If their run game pops off, the game might score points, but the Bucks are also perfectly fine doing that too, running on first down, taking like contested short throws to Chris Godwin. Like, they want to keep this game at its under, right? And if that's the case, there's just nothing to garner from Mike Evans. He's like George Pickens, essentially.
Ooh, that's a shocking but pretty apt comparison for the way Mike Evans has been playing the past 6 weeks, because it really is that kind of usage and just like praying for like a deep ball, praying that he actually somehow gets the look when they get in the red zone. They've been getting the red
and that
zone
he catches it.
Yeah,
remember, it was like 4 weeks ago, the iconic like 70-yard. My season hangs in the balance. That's 5 and 6, and I had Mike Evans.
I had Tom Brady in a distance scoring league.
Distance score. You and your distance scoring league.
You know what? We don't need to talk about it, but we are. We just did. But yeah, Mike Evans is just—it's a sad, sordid tale. But he's outside the top 24 basically at this point. Well, not basically. He is outside the top 24.
Fine with that, yeah.
Which seemed inconceivable early in the year, but. So producer Adam points out the Bucks are 5.5-point favorites. It's been bet down to 3.
Dude, I want to go to a Sam Darnold-led Panthers playoff game more than anything I've wanted in a long time. Please.
You will be hugely disappointed.
No, I want to watch them lose to the Cowboys by 40. Please.
Ooh, they would beat the Cowboys just because that'd be a very Cowboys thing to do.
That'd be funny too.
Cowboys.
Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking at wideout in week 17?
Jahan Dotson, not really because it's a bad thing. It's a good thing, really. He's come back from the injury. Past 3 weeks, he scored a touchdown in each of those games. He's getting the targets with 9, 6, and 9, 76 yards, 105 yards, and 54 the past 3 games. He's actually outscored Terry McLaurin in the past 3 games, and we see that, getting Carson Wentz back didn't really,
Allegedly, we still don't know for sure if he's starting, but we're pretty sure he is.
Yeah, I mean, he should, right?
He should, yeah.
The only thing I worry about is if I'm a Jahan Dotson manager going into this week in fantasy, is you got to remember that early in the season, Curtis Samuel was highly successful with Carson Wentz. Like, Curtis Samuel had basically built himself into being a consistent, like a low-end wide receiver 2 with Carson Wentz. Like, those targets was not going away. He was getting consistently he was getting near or getting double-digit targets every game with Carson Wentz. So, but on the flip side, Jahan Dotson was scoring touchdowns early in the season as well. So, and that's what he's doing now. He's clearly above Curtis Samuel in the pecking order as far as pass catching goes on that team. So it's like you wanna be fair in the situation. He definitely has to get a bump up higher, but could it be too high? Definitely gonna be higher than my boy Mike Evans.
Ooh.
But
Wow.
it just depends on how high.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah, you jump in, Kyle.
I wanted to bring up, and I figured we would just talk about it now, but as a player I wanted to talk about was Terry McLaurin. The kind of inverse of the reasons you brought up is that we saw it was so stark that when Carson Wentz started off the year, Curtis Samuel was immediately a thing, and Jahan Dotson was playing well as well. And we were just, we were on the back of the milk carton looking for Terry McLaurin. And last week, we didn't see that in the box score because he caught a long 51-yard non-touchdown, but then scored a few plays later from Taylor Heineke. Carson Wentz comes in, throws, I believe, 16 passes, and Terry McLaurin, immediately the switch flips, and he gets 1 target on 16 Carson Wentz attempts. So I think how highly you rank Jahan Dotson is almost the inverse. And I'm kind of assuming Carson Wentz is going to start like you guys said, but assuming that's the case, how highly you rank Dotson is like the exact inverse of how you rank Terry McLaurin. If you are comfortable, and I think I will be, plummeting Terry McLaurin with Carson Wentz under center, you should absolutely feel free to really pump the Jahan Dotson and even the Curtis Samuel numbers.
Totally. I mean, Jahan Dotson had 4 touchdowns in 4 games with Carson Wentz before Dotson got hurt. Then when he came back, of course, Carson Wentz had been benched. Yeah, producer Adam points out inside the 20-yard line this year, Jahan Dotson has 5 touchdowns on 6 catches and 7 targets. And a lot of that was from Carson Wentz looking his way in the red zone. And the man just does not celebrate the Terry McLaurin catalog the way the rest of us do. For some reason, does not seem to realize how amazing Terry McLaurin is at the game of football. And really, 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 we're talking really likes Curtis Samuel more than any human being should. But it's just so many variables for this Commanders receiver core, just like the shifting fortunes and how they're playing, and then the quarterback change. Right, I'm very confused what to do with Jahan Dotson. I do have him higher than I did last week, so I'm keeping him on his march up the ranks. But I just wish there wasn't this another new variable. But I think we can all agree he's at least a wide receiver 3, Jahan Dotson. It sounds like Lawrence maybe had him as a wide receiver 2. Is that true, Lawrence? Do you have him as a wide receiver 2?
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Maybe by Thursday he'll be a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, things change. Like you said, let's make sure Carson Wentz is on in there. And then we'll see.
Yeah, maybe they're going to announce Sam Howell as the starter. Is he still on the team? He's a rookie, right?
He'll be out my rankings then.
Yeah. Didn't he hurt something in the preseason?
I don't remember. It's going to be Carson Wentz, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I have no idea what DeAndre Hopkins caught 1 of 10 targets from Trace McSorley in week 16 on Sunday Night Football on Christmas Day. The least inefficient game you'll ever see from wide receiver, of course, playing with a number 3 quarterback. Colt McCoy should probably be back from his concussion in week 17. Who are the Cardinals playing here?
Who cares? Let us rest, Cardinals, please. No
Colt
more.
McCoy should be back for the Cardinals' East Coast road trip to take on the Falcons. But even before the 1 for 10 fiasco with Trace McSorley, DeAndre Hopkins had 0 touchdowns on 14 catches on 22 targets over his previous 2 games. It seemed like the floor and the ceiling both really kind of collapsing without Kyler Murray. Are you guys still comfortable calling DeAndre Hopkins, say, a top 18 wide receiver, or does he need to be plummeting down?
No, 18. I mean, 18 is easily the top number he ranks in. I thought you were going to say top 12, and I was like, no, comfort would not be how I describe putting him in there. Obviously, we have some high-scoring games. At least Vegas predicts some high-scoring games, and no teams on bye. So the player pool is as large as it can be. So, yeah, wide receiver 1 feels a little suspect. This offense, I mean, they're just done. The team is completely given up. They have nothing to play for. And they're going to play a team that, it's just going to be a runoff. They're going to give James Conner as much as his round body can handle.
Lawrence, do you feel anything about DeAndre Hopkins in the top 18, or are you?
Yeah, at first I thought you was about to say top 12. I was about to be like, no. But definitely top 18. At least with Colt McCoy, he was, getting respectable targets. I'll use the word respectable targets, because we saw he's always gonna get the targets, right? He got, like you said,
he is gonna get the targets. That's true.
He got 10 of them with Trace McSorley, only catching one of them. But
even in his one catch game, he still got 10 targets.
Exactly. So like that's what's 100% gonna keep him in there. Also, obviously his elite talent, but it's tough to keep putting him out there as a wide receiver one when he doesn't have his quarterback. And we saw it when he came back from the suspension. He hit the ground running. Like, he was a top 5 or 6 receiver those first 4 or 5 weeks with Kyler Murray. With backup quarterbacks, obviously it's harder to do, but we won't get too crazy and put him in the 20s and all that. Even if he still had McSorley, I still, go top 18 because of the targets. Like, I don't think he could ever play a game that inefficient again. Like that. That's wild stuff.
That's not happening. And he's played in 9 games this year. He's reached 10 targets in 6 of them, or maybe 7 of them. 7 of them.
Yeah,
sorry.
You just caught a tough break this week.
Yeah, so Colt McCoy, he's Colt McCoy. He would be an upgrade on Trace McSorley. And they're playing the Falcons. It's not like a horrible matchup. So, Kyle, did you have anything to add on DeAndre Hopkins for your computer? Sent you to the 9th circle of hell.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say what I said my computer said to me. I was not happy with my computer, and it wasn't happy with me. No, lots of running the football, it looks like, in this game. We know the Falcons, it's their one love in life is to run the football, and they are also bad at defending it. So I think it's a low-scoring game. But like you said, like, targets are targets, and especially when they're not coming from Trace McSorley. We're not going to say what they're upgrading to. Let's not get too fine into the details of what quarterback is coming back to the lineup. It's not Kyler Murray, but it's better than Trace McSorley. And, we chase the volume, especially for guys who are super, super talented, which is still obviously true of DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, I mean, where'd you have him ranked? I think top 18. I think that's a little under something. I think you still say top 15.
17 right now.
I'd probably go a few higher, but it's fine.
I have in mind Chris Godwin and Mike Williams. I always have Mike Williams too high.
You love Mike Williams. You're right. Mike Williams.
I didn't used to be. I used to be known as a Mike Williams hater, and now I'm somehow higher on him than everyone every week. I need to get him down. But yeah, you said targets are targets, cash is cash. He's in the top 18 still. We'll be right back after this to close out the show. Some quarterback and tight end talk. Download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. Geno Smith, guys, it's not going well. There's 2 touchdowns over his past 2 starts, averaging 5.4 yards per attempt over his past 2 starts. We don't know Tyler Lockett's status for the fantasy finals. I mean, he's been producing as a QB1 for quite a while. Playing now a Jets team is probably a top 5 or 6 pass defense. I have Geno Smith now as the QB 17 for the fantasy finals. Does it sound like too large of a fade to you guys?
Yeah, that's a bit of a jump off the cliff for me. I agree. It's a tough matchup. I'm not going to have him ranked as a QB1. I don't think my rankings will be out in about less than 24 hours, about 18 hours. But, like, 2 bad weeks. 2 bad weeks for his fantasy production. Before that, he was starting to turn the ball over more and more and more.
He was playing more poorly in real life, but not in fantasy.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
But, like, their games were at least playing in an interesting way in that both teams were able to score points. And with Mike White under center, they should be able to put up points against Seattle. So he had, I forgot how incredible of a stretch. He had a stretch of just eyeballing, so I'm not going to count live on the show. Here you go. Seven consecutive games with at least 2 touchdowns, back-to-back games with 3 touchdowns before these back-to-back games most recently of a touchdown apiece plus an interception. Obviously, no rushing production, really. So I'm going to lean more on the early season sample. But at the same time, I do think like he probably ran hot to be that consistent throughout the year. And now he plays a difficult defense. Not a QB1 anymore, at least for this week. And this is the week that matters, obviously. But is he QB, what do you say, 17 or whatever?
17.
I don't think I'd go that low on him personally.
I currently have in mind Daniel Jones. I need to probably get him ahead of.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
I'm going Geno over all of them cats.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I'm putting Tom Brady below
This, so, yeah.
Brock Purdy.
I like them, the Seahawks, the past 2 games, on the road versus Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City ain't known for some great defense, but still a great team. The game before that versus the San Francisco 49ers. So the past two matches done been kind of tough. Like you even saw it versus Kansas City. The fellas trying to psych themselves out with their shirts off out there, all swollen in the cold. Like you supposed to win the game first and then do all that. Now from a fantasy standpoint, despite this, he's still been a top 10 quarterback the past 3 games, the past 4 games, in the past 5. He just sprinkling in a couple of those interceptions in there now. Like come on, Gino. We don't need that, baby. We rooting for you, man. But you sprinkling in the picks now. But so, like you mentioned, the Jets, I don't think it's gonna get any easier, especially with the Jets fighting for and so are the Seahawks. I think they still fighting for a playoff spot.
They are somehow. It's pretty remote.
Yeah. So, and Gino's past 3 games, he's had in each of the past 3 games, he's had 40, 44, and 36 passing attempts. So while that does give you more chance to throw interceptions and turn the ball over, it give you more chance to get those points, whether it be early points or garbage time points. I'm still gonna have him hovering around that QB1 level, but prior weeks I've always had him at like quarterback 7, 8, 9. He ain't gonna be that high for me this week because of the recent struggles and the matchup versus the Jets. But he still, I'll still have him decently ranked.
QB 13 or 14 is probably more appropriate, especially if Tyler Lockett comes back from his finger injury, which he might. We're gonna be waiting.
That'll be big.
We're gonna be waiting for clarity on that. I feel like all week. This seems like a classic Seahawks special where Pete Carroll's like, I don't know, man. It's the doctors. I'm not a doctor, but the doctors say it looks amazing. They've never seen a better finger, but he's still a game time decision. It's gonna be very confusing. Geno Smith against the New York Jets or Mike White against the Seattle Seahawks.
Still go Geno. I
mean,
they got to, I think it's at home, they're favored, which gives them a higher implied team total. And you don't get points for Mike White's completion percentage in most leagues. No.
So I do have Geno now ahead of Mike White. I may have moved up Geno to a QB 13.
That's right.
Talking. I just did a very initial scan through this morning. So I'm going to ask now because Geno or this next person who I don't quite know where to rank. What do we do with Gardner Minshew? Jalen Hurts remains sideline against the New Orleans Saints. Is he a QB1? Is that insane?
It's definitely not insane, right? Because he's got one of the better.
Much talent.
He's got so much talent around him. I'm not sure if you were.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I mean, he has so much talent around him. Himself, a little less talent.
I was making sure I completed that sentence.
No.
He's probably an above average backup. It is hard to make much of how to evaluate him in these circumstances because they're as favorable as you can be. He has a really smart coaching staff around him, great offensive line, maybe the best receiver duo. I'm going to say like the second best. I still think Chase Higgins is like the best, maybe like the second best receiving duo in the NFL though. And he's got an incredible tight end back as well. So evaluating him as a talent, a difficult process, a little less so as a fantasy prospect. The only thing that I really think I wouldn't like about him this week is that the Saints probably aren't providing any sort of pushback against them. I mean, unless Minshew is more of the
that's true. He was fueled by the Cowboys.
Yeah, he was also fueled a little bit by his own mistakes. His own mistakes help. It's the Jameis.
It was a perfect example of and it's like the flip-flop of Justin Herbert. He played a great fantasy game, but was also responsible for 3 of those 4 turnovers that the Eagles had, and probably could have had a couple others. But like you alluded to, the talent around him is just exceptional. Devontae Smith was making catches that's like, oh my God, like this dude, he was going up over the middle, putting that little body in harm's way, just doing it for the squad, baby. I love Devontae, the Slim Reaper, baby. Yeah, he don't care who at quarterback. He gonna ball, even if it's Gardner Minshew. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective this week, it was almost like, are we gonna get that versus the Saints a team that, like you said, Kyle, may not provide much resistance, and they already got Kamara mad that he ain't getting touches on third down. So, this could be like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and out the door right now. So who knows what the game script is going to be like.
Yeah, it's going to be a big Boston Scott game by the end of the fourth quarter.
Oh.
If you know what I'm saying.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the Saints are the variable here that probably hurts Gardner Minshew more than anything. And
yes,
not the quality of their defense, the quality of their offense.
Exactly.
Is probably hurting the Gardner Minshew QB1 streamer case.
So we have to make a decision. Who do we I think, because this was Gardner Minshew versus Geno Smith way back in the 4 minutes ago, right?
Gardner Minshew versus Geno Smith.
I think I'll go Geno. I'm going to go Geno.
They're seriously like back-to-back this week. They're like the same player this week, almost. Lawrence, Geno, or Gardner Minshew?
I'll go Geno.
I currently have Minshew, but I think if Lockett is playing, I'm going to make the switch.
Gardner Minshew was like, it was like too good to be true last week.
It was. That's been a theme for him several times throughout his career. Too good to be true, Gardner Minshew. Tight end, we're going to end the show here with a few tight end conundrums. David Njoku at the Commanders. He's been severely banged up with knee issues the past 2 weeks. This has been kind of on a roller coaster, though, with Deshaun Watson playing really poorly. A game where you just immediately throw in the trash week 16 because of the weather. Njoku is scoreless 5 for 42 over his past 2 games. But even as he played hurt, he had touchdowns in his 2 games before that. Are we comfortable with David Njoku top 8 or top 10 tight end? I think we probably all agree he's still top 12.
Yeah, top 12 is probably something we all agree on. Man, this offense just has no life to it. Obviously, last week, it's not a real strong indicator of what they are going forward. 2 weeks before that, or at least some data saying that they're not going to be good. On the other side, Njoku's appeared on the field for at least 94% of the team snaps in back-to-back-to-back weeks. He just, at this point, is the usage level of the player we always wanted him to be, because he just looks like the player where you just want to get him the ball, right? You just want to find ways to let him, he's like Derrick Henry of tight ends level athleticism. He's huge, incredibly great at yards after the catch. But man, getting him the ball, getting anyone the ball on this team has been a struggle. I still think because of his usage and tight end is so poor, and I just like him as a talent. Sure, top 8, have fun with it.
I have a tight end 9 right now. What sounds right to you, Lawrence? Oh, you're muted, Lawrence.
We could go with that. Like you said, the game in week 16, it was in the snow again. David Njoku, another dude who had his shirt off pregame. I'm from New Jersey, man. You know what's up.
Can't tell me nothing.
I put him right on my fantasy bench because of that weather, and it worked out.
Lawrence, you're right now stationed in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
So,
and I'm not that tough to be walking out with my shirt off.
I was going to say, it's probably cold where you are. Would you say 0 degrees with a negative 20 wind chill, as someone from New Jersey, would you find that acceptable to have your shirt off in?
Nah, not unless I was, I don't know, trying to look tough.
Trying to catch 2 passes for 14 yards.
I don't want to get sick trying to show my pecs.
Yeah, there you go. See, Lawrence has got life experience at this point. By the time you're in your 30s, you just know it's not worth the trade-off. It's not worth the trade. No one wants to get the flu.
No, not at all.
David Njoku or Taysom Hill at tight end?
I think it's Taysom. That's another one where last week it's like such a weird way to project forward, but they've been trying to use Taysom more and more and more throughout the season. I think last week was some dependent on the game environment, but just some dependent on the fact that they're so.
Lawrence, David Njoku, or Taysom Hill?
Well, I had Taysom Hill ranked 13th last week, and he kind of outdid that. I'm gonna go back to Njoku though. He'll bounce back in decent, not terrible weather.
I have him one spot ahead of Taysom Hill. Pat Freiermuth or David Njoku. This will be how we end the show.
I'm gonna go Freiermuth there.
Yeah, I've got Pat. Touchdown Pat, one spot ahead of David Njoku.
You just wanted Pat because his name Pat.
It's true. We have Pat solidarity. Patrick Mahomes, of course, leading the Pat.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, that's you number 2 though.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm ahead of Pat Fryermuth. We would ask Kyle, but his computer is being evil and has crashed on him again today. Yeah, it's just time to end the show. I was going to ask about Tyler Higbee, but I mean, well, I don't know. Tyler Higbee was bad for a month, and suddenly he was good again. It's a bad team that has some pop-up performances. I don't think we can get Tyler Higbee back in the top 12. I did get him back in the top 15. I think I had him like tight end 16 or 17 for week 16, but back in the top 15. But there's only so much you can count on in this Rams offense. And the Chargers defense has been playing better. So we'll get out of here now. If Kyle Dvorchak were here, he would tell you to check out his 32 stats article. Be really great for the fantasy finals. Got to check out Lawrence's Flex Finder article. Which, man, it's so many tough flex to see. It's just like, it's the time of year where so many teams are hurt. Players are kind of shutting down. We're getting like these random QB changes. It's crazy out in Flexville. So you got to check out Lawrence's article. Check out our preview show later this week. Check out my rankings. Check out Lawrence's rankings. Check out Kyle's rankings. Just check out everything on the site. There's going to be a lot of news this week, and we're going to keep it updated the best we can. So for Lawrence Jackson, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We'll be back later this week.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.